matchup at the Champions today. It was a race in 3 going into the match with Bob King opposed to Barry Salter, and both with 4 wins. But King with a better margin and going well. Salter had trouble settling down, supporting his fellow international, a 16-shot to 2 lead after only a handful of ends. The other bowler with a chance was Queenslander Neil Triton, and he was playing the best bowl of the tournament, but he had a problem. So too was his opponent, Sydney's Joe Amos.
I can't just say that. Good. Either 16-2 or 18-2.
For the purists, this was the match to marvel at, as both men proved expertly, with a margin only 1 shot this way and that. But in the long run, it was Bob King's 13-shot margin over Barry Salter that cemented the $1,000 win.
Then you give much away.
Queenslander grabbed the second spot, the local bowler Barry Salter hanging in for the 3rd month.
To daunt most able-bodied athletes, but 140 brave men and women decided to give it their best shot at Spears Point Park. 72 competed in the individual triathlon, while 23 free-people teams also took part. The first leg was a 1-kilometre swim in the icy water of Lake Macquarie. Then came a 28-kilometre cycle ride to Bolton Point and back, followed by a 9-kilometre run. The first team to complete the event consisted of Mike Beastie, who ran the final leg, cycler Craig Morgan and Bruce McDonald, the swimmer. 27-year-old Alan Mitchell from Bellevue Hill was the first across the line in 95 minutes and 27 seconds. Alan says the Lake Macquarie Triathlon is a practice session for the Triple M event in Melbourne in November.
I've been training 3 to 5 hours a day lately because I'll be going in the Triple M in November. So you have to train about that time.
And was it a very hard course?
The cycle leg is pretty hard. There's a lot of hard hills in it. People didn't have light bikes down it pretty hard. So I've been training over hills, so it wasn't too hard for me.
Meanwhile, at the Hillsborough Showground, pony clubs from all over the valley were represented at the 2-day Lake Macquarie Horse Festival, which concluded today. Flagging, bending, pony twist and barrel competitions kept the young horse riders on their toes, while others tried their hand at show jumping with varying success. Local business houses donated prizes, while the Lake Macquarie City Council provided the ribbons. But for most of the 300 competitors, the real thrill came with just taking part.
Mr Muirlock was pressed on a number of questions, such as the future of Curry and Cessnock hospitals, but backed down, saying he is waiting for the final report by Dr Peter Sainsbury on the region's health services. Mr Muirlock did say his number one priority is the hospital's obstetrics unit. With an occupancy rate of 97% over the last 3 months, he said the unit is less than satisfactory. He said he'll be looking into the cost of 2 additional delivery units and the possibility of setting up Melby House to provide extra facilities for the maternity ward. However, Mr Muirlock backed off from the proposal made in the Olsen report on health services that a new major hospital be built in the Maitland area within the next 20 years.
In terms of the new hospital proposal, I'm not really addressing that as a 15-year proposition. What I'm seeking to do is to provide services now. I don't think that anybody could really say there's not the basis of a very substantial commitment in capital here, and that there's a provision where you could make additional units available. I'm not precluding it, but I'd like to say this. Government is committed to Rankin Park. That's over $80 million, and whilst the Region Director quite clearly pointed out in a recent statement that Maitland is number 2 on his region, I have 10 regions in which I then have to sort the priorities out. And I think that really the best interest of everybody is served by ensuring that what we have here is improved.
Saturday, the Festival of the Waters saw Gosford receiving a Great Australian Air Race salute from a wide range of aircraft. World helicopter soloist Dick Smith, in his Australian Explorer Bell Jet Ranger, was just one of the pilots to pay tribute. Meanwhile, in the twin towns of Forster-Tuncurry, celebrations for the Great Lakes Oyster Festival were also off to a flying start, with oyster throwing a great success. For those feeling less energetic, the Home and Leisure Expo at Tuncurry provided a great opportunity for people to browse through the latest trade displays, to relax and let others do the moving, or with a perfect excuse to just have fun.
While the emphasis was on outdoor entertainment, there was still plenty to look at inside, like the Great Lakes Art Exhibition, which featured 150 works, many of which reflected a different aspect of the surrounding district, like this winning open painting of ship docking at Newcastle Harbour.
The exhibition, organised by the Great Lakes Art Society, featured works from as far south as Nowra and as far north as Coffs Harbour, as well as submissions from Sydney and Newcastle. Held at the Shire Council Chambers, the exhibition drew large crowds all day. But the culmination of Saturday's celebrations was the Grand Parade. It started in Tuncurry and snaked its way to Forster to the sound of the River City Jazz Band. While many floats carried messages such as "Love longer, eat oysters" and "Make a date and roller skate," for others, words just weren't necessary. The crowds lining the streets to catch a glimpse of the parade were not disappointed. The different modes of transport used ensured a sedate pace was maintained. Horses mingled with bikes and emergency services vehicles, while those on foot included a menagerie of birds, animals, and even people. While the celebrations continued on Sunday in the Lakes District, festivities in the Hunter Valley were in full swing also. The 9th annual Upper Hunter Wine Festival saw thousands flocking to the region's wineries, where the purchase of a festival glass for $3.50 provided a passport for free entry and tastings at each of the wineries. But wine wasn't the only attraction in the festival. At Murrurundi, a weekend of rodeos, camp drafting and a bushman's carnival attracted some of the best riders in Australia, with pleasing entries in each of the maiden, novice and open events. 128 entries alone were received in the maiden camp drafting. Peter Hayden explains the special skills involved.
First of all, you start off in the camp, which have a possible score of 26. And the idea is to cut a beast out from a mob, normally about 8, which are held in the camp. And once you cut that beast out cleanly and you take it up to the front of the camp in 2 or 3 turns, then you call to go outside. And then outside you have a course, and once you do that, complete that course, you then score 4 points. Horse work is then the total out of 70, and depending on how tight and fast you go around those pegs, you get a total score out of 100, and of course the highest score wins.
As the riders competed for top honours at Murrurundi, down the valley the Scone Aero Club presented its annual air show. Gathered were a large number of World War II aircraft for a special Warbirds on parade. For the first time in Australia, 3 P-51 Mustangs and a B-25 Mitchell bomber took part in formation takeoffs and flyovers, to the delight of the huge crowd. One of the great attractions was a Rebel Air DC-3 Dakota. Completing the comprehensive display was a rare Spitfire in the process of being rebuilt and only a month away from completion. Although the warplanes were to the fore, ultralights and gyrocopters also participated in the show. But old planes weren't the only drawcard for transport enthusiasts.
The Lachlan Valley Railway Society's Class 30 steam locomotive was a huge crowd drawer. It started off in Sydney but was brought to Muswellbrook to run trips to and from Scone.
The train, which was a workhorse in the New South Wales Railway from 1904 to 1971, has been restored by the Society's voluntary workers. Nearly 16 metres in length, the train boasts 6 passenger carriages, including a buffet carriage, and has a top speed of 80 kilometres an hour. It can carry up to 5 tonnes of coal to feed its hungry furnace and to generate enough steam to power the locomotive. The popularity of the train was unquestionable. All seats were sold. But for some, there was no time to relax. In Denman, for the athletes, an Olympic Games to rival Los Angeles was held. One of the events was billed an Ironman contest over 3 stages. The first, a 1 kilometre swim, the second, a gruelling 18 kilometre cycle, and the third, a 7.5 kilometre run. Bob Scammell of Maitland took out the $1,000 first prize, but following hot on his heels was his fiancée, Kim Hicks, the only woman in a field of 19 contestants. Other events in the Denman Olympics included sprints and novelty events, such as cow chip throwing. While the chips made of melted baling twine may not have been strictly authentic, the winning throw of 50 metres by Kerry Norman was not to be dismissed lightly. Katrina Blenman recorded the winning women's throw of 33 metres. And while the entertainment began to wind down as the day drew to a close, people at the wineries hadn't forgotten what the festival was really all about. At Arrowfield, visitors flocked by car and less conventional means to taste the wine and relax. Timed to coincide with the wine festival, Arrowfield released a number of new vintages and a new blend, a Chardonnay Semillon, which proved popular at the tastings. Those who felt a bit mellow after the day's celebrations relaxed and sampled the new wines, while those with energy to spare danced to the music of Sydney group Power. Tonight, it's all over for another year. The Gosford Festival of the Waters, the Foster Tuncurry Oyster Festival, the Murrurundi Bushman's Carnival, the Denman Olympics, and the Upper Hunter Wine Festival. And for the festival goers, it's back to work and school tomorrow, after 3 days of non-stop festivities.
haven't got round to turning it on. But about the book,
now we've got one example. In the early 30s, he took out a
damn
lease
thing
on an
took hold.
island at the entrance to Port
It
Stephen.
had me in.
There, he done shell grips to sell to chook farmers and made £3 a week, a handsome reward compared with the 6 shillings for the
like
job.
a screen
What makes
that was
these
showing.
facts now so significant is that Arthur has put pen to paper and written a book about his
I'm
vision.
writing a book.
It's called Sheer
Just the whole hunk, that's it.
Title of Man as well as the book.
After about 4 pages, I'd got to the island, and the damn thing took hold then. It had me in. What was happening then? I couldn't get to me writing quick enough because I was back on the island living it. And some of the episodes, they're quite hairy, like that bad crossing of the spit. And I remember finishing it off in the writing, and I thought to myself, well, thank God that's over. I was just as frightened then as I was when I climbed the bank and I was laying on the cut bank, on the top of the cut bank on the far side, and saying to myself, well, thank God that's over.
Most people have very bad memories of the Depression, and they wouldn't want to write them down, but apparently things weren't so bad for you.
Well, the point was that as I moved further and further into the story, it seemed to be like a screen that was showing, like a moving picture that was showing me, and all I was trying to do was keep pace and put it into as good words as I could.
The Hunter District Water Board had the greatest increase in power consumption with a 44% hike. The reason was the maintenance work being done on the Chichester Dam pipeline at the Tomago sandbed. The steel industry had an 18% increase in consumption, while both the coal mining and chemical industries used 6.5% more. The President of the Newcastle Chamber of Commerce, Mr Peter Evans, says this indicates an improvement in the Hunter's economy.
It's not just a question of confidence. It certainly gives me confidence, but it's a demand. There are statistical figures which show that there is an increase in electricity use by business, and the manufacturing sector obviously not as high as the others, and quite frankly that's where I'd like to see a major boost in the next few months. But generally there is a significant improvement or increase in demand, in use, and that reflects obviously an improvement in our local economy.
Clinging to the narrow lead he's had in the tour for the last 256 kilometres. But with early tour leader American Roy Dixon number 6, just 2 seconds behind him in the overall tour time, this afternoon stage from Taree to Foster was vital for both riders. For most of the 47-kilometre stage, the riders were locked in a tight bunch, with Lee in the yellow leader's jersey and Dixon in the pink jersey, both riding around the middle of the pack. But just outside Foster, 3 riders, including Zach White and Nico Cruz, who still had the rock broke away. The three were well clear of the pack when the tour was at Foster, and started to turn up the tour in a sprint. Pauline looked like he might put him in his car, but faded. And in the final lap, Nicky, who was running the car, came through to challenge him. Colin took over Hogan, held off, back to line first, just as he started going in the season, with Nicky in third. Nicky's place was good enough to give him the outright lead, with just 8 seconds separating him and Toulouse. For Australia, the main hope lies with Canberra rider Steve Hodge, who's lying nice but within striking distance of the leader.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like now to...
The youth squad got off to a flying start, and it seemed to be just a matter of time before they drew first blood. But after 20 minutes of dominating the Marconi side, they seemed to lose confidence and let the Sydney team back into the game. Then right on half-time, Rosebud striker Terry Mason brought the Adamstown Oval crowd to their feet with a spectacular overhead goal. In the second half, Rosebud got the lead with Darren Stewart, who took the match to the result. After 10 minutes later, it's close to half. Marconi scored their first home Curtain race for that match, the Rosebud senior team suffered a shock result. The Tigers played all over Wollongong, who this season's wooden spoon, won the match 2 goals to 1. These Rosebud won the goal scored by John Torres just before full time. Another National League game is played today. Marconi 4 beat Waikato 1, Sydney Olympic drew with Sydney City 1-1, Penrith 2 beat Parramatta 0, and Sydney Croatia 2 defeated St George 0.